Hi people. Today we are going to talk about opening principles. Not openings like the Ruy Lopez, the Catalan, the French defense, or the Sicilian. We'll get to those some other time. Today we're just talking about opening principles. You should learn the opening principles first before going straight into learning an opening. Knowing the principles will give you a better understanding of the opening you're trying to learn, and if your opponent plays an opening you're not familiar with, then knowing the opening principles will help you get through the opening phase game. The center. Are these four squares? The center is the most valuable place on the board. All of our pieces are at their best in the center. During the opening state of the game you're going to want control of the center. You can control the center by using your pawns. E4 takes control of the D5 square and the F5 square. You're going to want one pawn or two in the center. Most of the time you're only going to be able to push one pawn in the center because a lot of people play E5, which controls the D4 square. If you do play D4, you're probably playing the Danish Gambit. I don't know the Danish Gambit. So after you put your pawn or pawns in the center you develop your knights. Knights before bishops. The knights protect the pawns and attack a central square. Developing our bishops. And finally castle. Some people prefer to develop the bishop in between the king and the rook first so that they can castle right after. But you don't have to castle right after you develop that bishop. You can just develop both bishops and then castle. You can also castle the long way. Just push your queen up a square and castle. Now this is a good position. All pieces are developed. Kings are safe. But not all opening phases go like this. In a perfect world they would. But we're not in a perfect world. So let's look at an example or two. Couple more things before we get into the examples. Never bring out your queen early. It will get absolutely harassed by your opponent's pieces. And you'll fall behind in developing your army. Just keep it back with your rooks for now. The queen and rooks are not pieces for the opening. Keep them all safe and tucked away during the opening. You should also not make too many pawn moves. And the last thing is to not move the same piece twice. If you keep moving that piece over and over, then you'll get left behind in developing your pieces. And finally, don't block in your pieces with other pieces. That last one will be shown better in the examples. Now let's look at how these opening principles work with some openings. Both players put a pawn into the center. White brings out a knight to attack black's pawn. Now black plays knight to c6, defending the pawn and developing the piece. Bishop to c4 develops a piece and prepares white to castle. This develops a piece and attacks the pawn on e4. This move defends our pawn and opens the door for our dark squared bishop. This develops the bishop and allows black to be able to castle on the next move. Both sides have castled and are ready to fight for the center by developing the rest of their pieces. White will push out their bishop and knight, while black pushes their pawn and will probably develop their bishop on the next move. None of their pieces are in each other's way, which is something you also needed to remember. Make sure that none of your pieces are blocking each other's development. e4. Attacking the center. c5 also takes control of the d4 squares. This is known as the Sicilian Defense. White can still play d4, but it's not the best move because we lose a central pawn. Knight to f3, developing a piece and attacking the d4 square. It also prepares the move d4. Knight to c6 anticipates it. And we play d4. Black takes. And white takes back. Black can take back, but that's not a good move. Because now the queen can't be kicked out or harassed by the knights. So black instead develops their knight, attacking our e4 pawn. We also develop a knight defending the pawn. Black pushes a pawn, taking a little more control of the central square. We develop our bishop to develop it and to castle in the next couple moves. e6 keeps an eye on some central squares and allows the bishop to come out and then castle. We make our king safe. We develop our bishop and support our knight in the center. Everyone's pieces are developed. Except that bishop. But now the middle game starts. I'm pretty sure most of you have heard of the Queen's Gambit. Let's see how the principals work with it. A pawn in the center. c4 attacks the d5 square. Black is now up a pawn, but they lost a central pawn. We developed a knight. Black develops a knight, fighting for the center. We develop our other knight, preparing to play e4 to take over the center. Bishop to f5 prevents e4. So we play e3. Helping out our bishop in getting out, taking back the pawn and being able to castle soon. e6 helps black develop their other bishop and castle next. We take back and are ready to castle. Black is also ready to castle. Now all of the principles have been met. Pawns in the center. Knights and bishops are developed. And our king is castled and safe. Now I'm just going to say all the principles again. First, take over the center with either your e or d pawn. Develop your knights and then bishops. After developing your pieces, castle. Don't bring out your queen during the opening phase. Make as little pawn moves as possible. Don't move the same piece twice. And make sure your pieces aren't in each other's way. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this helped in your chess journey or something. But, yeah, thank you again. And, bye people.